Hi everyone, this is Cassie and this is my book channel, Bookish 4 Eyes. Today I'm doing a review of a book that I read recently and it's called The Tsar of Love and Techno by Anthony Marra, and this is the second book by Anthony Marra that I've read. This book is a little bit different from his first book in terms of this being a collection of short stories. But the interesting thing about this particular book is the fact that all of the short stories are connected together. The thing that I liked about this book is that you didn't feel like you were reading just a collection of short stories. Instead, it felt like you were reading an actual book with a bunch of short stories as different chapters. For example, the first character in this book works for the government in censorship department, and he's an artist who has to edit out the faces of people who are deemed to be the enemies of the state. The book takes place in Russia, and it jumps around during different time frames from past to present, but like I mentioned before, all of the characters are somehow connected. For example, the artist who works for the government is mentioned in a couple of other short stories, and in one of them he is related to the main character because the main character is his nephew. And in another short story, a researcher notices his work and talks about the artist, yet you don't really know much else about him. The reason why I liked all the short stories being connected is because it felt like you could get a really good perspective on the character. So for example, if you're reading one short story and the character is narrating the whole thing, him or herself, you get their perspective on it. And then in another short story, they are just a part of someone else's retelling of their story, so you get another perspective on that. From that experience, I could see that one character seems to be a positive character from their own perspective, but then after you see someone else's experiences with that person, you realize that maybe they weren't such a good character after all. As always with Anthony Marra's stories, none of the characters have a very easy life. So all of them have some sort of hardships that they have to face, and I think that makes his characters more likable even if they aren't supposed to be. Another thing with Anthony Marra's writing is it's always really descriptive and beautiful. And this book is no different from his first book. He does have a great way of describing everything, of making you very well acquainted with each and every character, and I really like that about his books. If you aren't too fond of reading short stories, then I think this is a good one to get into, just because it doesn't really read like a collection of short stories. It seems like a book. Overall, I gave this book 4 stars on Goodreads. It wasn't the most amazing book I've ever read to give it 5 stars, but it was a decent book and something that kind of stuck with me in my mind for a little while. So that's pretty much my review of The Tsar of Love and Techno. If you've read this book, please let me know. And if you've read Anthony Marra's first book, also let me know as well. Let me know what you thought. I will link the Goodreads page to this book down below so you can find out a little bit more about that. Thank you so much for watching my video and have a great day.